Anderson. Bailey, quick hands. There's the youngster again. Fourth and kick the last. Sets up another. Lions back-to-back goals.
So Lloyd swings round. Quick football. That's better. Oh! Goes McGovern.
He's a joy to watch, isn't he?
Hello, I'm Damian Barrett. Welcome to Access All Areas, brought to you by Sportsbet. Sir Doug Nicholls' round produced some beautiful moments, and a big-name Tiger has again found himself in the news for the wrong reasons. Matthew Lloyd, welcome. Tom Lynch sent straight to the tribunal.
Yeah, it came as a shock to me last night when I heard he's been sent to the tribunal. I expected him to get another fine, Damo, and I know that he's been in the news a lot and people are getting sick and tired of it. Here's Michael Hurley pushing on that hand. But I think fullbacks and full forwards do that, and Tom Lynch's response was, you know, I'm going to push back on you to try and get my space or whatever, separate him from me. I don't think the force is enough for a week, but whether Chris O's thought, yeah, I've given him a fine and then another fine, yeah, I'm going to let the tribunal deal with it this time.
That's what's happened.
Yeah.
You also want to bring to the table something that happened back in 2016, which you believe is a precedent for what we could see tonight. Yeah,
I think this is worse, watching it back this morning. But here's Tom Hawkins. He got a week, but it's more a jab off the ball on Phil Davis, and he got 1 week for it. I don't think Tom Lynch's is as bad, but I can understand. Some people said, it's rubbish, what's Tom Lynch, why are we even talking about it? It's a non-story. I always thought it needed to be looked at, but I think it's a fine, and again, he gets lucky and escapes. Yep. What do you think, Dave?
I'm surprised, like you. Yeah. I can't believe this has gone to the tribunal in isolation. Obviously, it's a third strike in inverted commas. The issue with Witherden in round 10, the issue with Sam Collins in round 12, and then we get to the Hurley moment out of round 13. Collectively, that's why it's at the tribunal. But I'd be staggered, to me anyway, if a tribunal tonight was to find him guilty of an offence that required him to miss a game of footy. I just cannot see that happening, Lloyd.
Yeah, it's a massive game too against the Eagles, and everyone thinks that it's going to the tribunal. It must be that serious, but not in this case. I think Chris O sent him there. He can explain himself, but I think it shouldn't be any more than a fine. A few
other issues with the Tigers in off-the-ball moments. Dylan Grimes, for the second time in his career, has now been fined for staging from this incident. It was a crucial stage of the game. You can see McDonald tipping Woody taking that mark, playing on, kicking a goal. The turnaround resulted in a Richmond goal. Later in the game, there was another staging issue with Foster. Now, I'm more sympathetic to Foster than I am Grimes on these occasions, Lord. He did get hit or collected by Bellchambers, and I think it's a natural reaction. I'm a little bit more lenient on him out of these staging issues.
Yeah, I'm not as sympathetic to him, Dame. I think he knew exactly what he was doing there, and again, it's put pressure on the umpires, and in such a big game, it was the biggest game of the weekend, both Grimes and Boston, that wasn't great from them. Yeah. And the embarrassment that comes is pretty big with being fined for staging. And I go back to Tom Papley. Since that Hawthorn game, when he got done for staging, he was in career best form. He hasn't really done much since then. He's kicked 3 goals in the last 4 weeks, and he's really struggled. So I reckon that hurts you and your pride as a person when you get fined,
and amongst your peers.
And amongst your peers.
So Dylan Grimes will now be living with that.
I think so, but it's the second time he's done that, so that's why he gets the fine. And Nick Vlaston, obviously, fair bit of embarrassment will come on those two players. And I think the AFL has done the right thing fining them. But the thing is, let's be consistent with it, because I've seen some other players in other games. Say, for example, if that was off Broadway, Fremantle, Sydney, would they have been fined like this? Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's a question, mate.
They need to from now on,
I think
don't
they need to. Yeah.
West Coast did, as expected, won an 8th in a row game of footy against GWS. They've now won the 6 matches they've played, Lordo, back in Perth after initially hubbing outside of that WA state. They're going as well as anyone. Yeah,
I think the rest of the competition's very, very lucky that they have to go away again, because I think they would probably force their way into a home final. In my opinion, they'll just keep winning and winning and winning. Rarely lose away, and so I think that now they won't get to play back in Perth for the rest of the year, most likely.
Quite possibly. A final is still possible. Jeremy McGovern, Lloyd, he's a 4-time All-Australian and is tracking again, I think, to be being that player again, despite some injuries this year. But he just controlled this game, even by his standards, which are already all-time elite for most of it.
He's an old-fashioned footballer, and I think it's why everyone has so much affection for the way McGovern plays. He's not rock-hard fit like the rest of the competition is, but he reads the play as well as anyone in the comp. And the Giants, Damo, they didn't play this game very smartly yesterday with how you have to play Jeremy McGovern.
Let's have a look at some exclusive AFL.com.au behind the goals vision. Now, you've highlighted the 2 players there. Obviously, McGovern is the one on left of screen. Yeah. Take us through what you want us to learn here, Lloyd.
So he's on Himmelberg, and he plays like the forward. So he is watching the play. He doesn't even watch his man at that stage. And he read the ball better than Himmelberg is. So that was just brilliant defensive play from from, obviously, Jeremy McGovern. Here's McGovern on... His player is Jeremy Cameron on the right-hand side of the screen. Oh, sorry, Lloyd, that is. He's watching. He's thinking, Lloyd, you're running to a dumb spot, so I'm not even going to bother manning you up here. I'm going to go to where the dangerous ball is coming out to the left-hand side. Again, he reads the ball, marks it in the goal square. Sensational play, not very smart from Lloyd and not very smart with their delivery from the ball. Here's another one. This is the one I love. This is Riccardi. He played a brilliant game, Riccardi. So he leads up. You've got to lower your eyes and hit Riccardi and make Jeremy McGovern honest. He thinks, no, I can sense where it's going to go, reads the ball, takes the mark. He and Nat Nui were the difference in that game. Now I've got one which they did late when the game was over, of how they should have played McGovern earlier. So here's another one, Damo.
Yeah, this is later in the game when it's already done, effectively. But what did they do that you like here?
So he's sitting 20 metres off his man Riccardi again. So people say, where's the accountability? He realises here that there's spread. Fast ball move from the Giants. So McGovern thinks, I have to go here. So smart lead from Riccardi. Doesn't get used, but McGovern, we see, he's out of it. He's 70 metres away. They've got the ball over his head. We highlight him here. Yep. He is absolutely cooked. So
he doesn't have the biggest engine.
No, you've got to try and cook him. He can't get back there. And look what happens. There's overlap. Where McGovern would normally plonk himself, they chip the ball over to Josh Kelly. So we had a plan for Glenn Jakovic. Hold your forwards. Whoever he picks up, you must stay back. Hold 6 forwards. Keep them accountable. The Giants didn't do that, and they paid dearly for it.
So that's the blueprint to beat the Eagles?
I reckon hold 6 forwards, and everyone has to stay back because they cover. The rest of the defenders cover for McGovern as well. Yeah.
The Lions won a game of footy against the Saints by 2 points. They nearly, again, kicked themselves out of it. 6 goals, 14. It totaled 50, Lordo. But kicks like this from Eric Hipwood, and he was the biggest defender yesterday. 3 behinds on his own scorecard, but another shot at goal that missed. Rayner missed it as well. This is now a theme. In the 13 matches they've played, on 8 occasions, they have kicked more behinds than goals. Their total goals this year, Lordo, is 124 against 159 points. And we know that in a qualifying final last year against Richmond, they kicked 8 goals, 17. And in a semi-final, both finals which they lost, they kicked 11 goals, 14 to GWS in losing those games. This is a real problem now.
Yeah, I read they had their heads in the sand about 2 or 3 weeks ago saying, no, that's OK, this will turn. We're still playing good football, but it's a massive issue now. They're doing so much right. They're equal top on the ladder. So the same amount of points as Port Adelaide, 10 wins and 3 losses, but they're not that good. They're not as good to be able to miss shots like that and keep creating. They got away with it against St Kilda. They won't get away with it against the top teams.
And again, they're covering for Charlie Cameron, whose output in the past month has been really down. You can see what he did at the start of the season, rounds 1 to 9, and then the rounds 10 to 13 block. Now, that has coincided, as we know, with a reasonably sore knee that he's carrying into games, but his mind just doesn't seem with it at the moment.
Yeah, they need to sit down with him and say, what do you think is best for you, for your knee and also for your mind? Because, what the positive is they're winning games without him. They're not having the reliance on him, but they need him to be going better than he is if they're to win the premiership.
Crows are still winless. They pushed Geelong to a point yesterday, but ultimately this final score said it was a 5-goal Cats win, and they're just doing all they need to do right now. They might still have an issue with Asava Radaglia and the impact that he's not yet having, Lordo, but they're on a roll, and that might just be unstoppable.
Yeah, I think what was great about Geelong is they just had to win. They've been up and playing that good a footy. They belted Port Adelaide, belted St Kilda, and you come to a game where you're playing the bottom team. You can't be up and winning by 10 goals every week. So they just did what they had to do. Game was on the line, 3 goals to 0 in the last quarter. The class of Dangerfield. Guthrie had another sensational game. Duncan again, he was brilliant late, and Tommy Hawkins kicked another 3, so they are flying.
Yeah, the big Cats surge of the past 5 weeks. Let's see what it's done to the premiership markets with Nathan Brown of Sportsbet.
Yeah, thanks, Damian. Well, the Cats got the job done. Didn't play overly well, but they still got the job done, as did Richmond. Brisbane the same. West Coast are probably the most impressive, particularly in the first half with Nat Nui, but I think the value lies in the Western Bulldogs. They're a very big price at $34, and when they get it right, they really get it right, the Western Bulldogs. Now, Carlton, are they excited down under the Robert Heatley stand? 4 very winnable games to make the 8 coming up. Can they do it? They're still a pretty big price. And the Brownlow medal, it's Lockie Neale's at the moment. We don't think anybody else can get close, but Travis Boak, 3 votes to get on the weekend, and he is a vote getter, still at a big price, but he should be making up the minors. And the Coleman medal, Tommy Hawkins, 5 ahead, 1 hand on that medal at the moment. Good luck if you are punting, and gamble responsibly.
Thanks to Nathan Brown of Sportsbet there. It was a very special Saturday night in Darwin when Richmond and Essendon played the first Dreamtime game at TIO Stadium. I thought it was done perfectly, Lordo. The pre-match was even more powerful, I felt, than it was even at the MCG. I thought the speech, the welcome speech, was as inspiring as I've ever heard in a pre-football show. This speech here was amazing, absolutely amazing. And the contest lived up to it too, Lordo.
Yeah, I played a NAB Cup game up there against the Eagles in Darwin at TIO Stadium, and I don't think the Bombers would have been back since. So that's how long it's been. So the biggest clubs taken up to Darwin. Irving Mosquito, what a debut that was. 2 beautiful goals in the first half. Just the smiles on the faces of the people in the crowd. It was wonderful. But for me, possibly every 4 years.
Right.
But I think the game should be at the MCG. I think, 85, 90,000 people.
Yep.
Maybe every 4 years. That's how I think would be a nice touch for Darwin people. What about you?
Yeah, I would like to see it back there. And I think to your point, maybe once every 3, 4, 5 years. But to lock it in until you know when those years are coming and to plan forward. Something that always happens in a Richmond-Essendon game, Lordo, is Dustin Martin dominating. He's picked up 15 Brownlow votes from the previous 6 matches. I would think he's going to get at least 2, maybe 3 again. Yeah,
we could have showed a lot of vision, but there was too much of it probably to show of Dusty just running around doing what he pleases. So it's a big decision Rutten's got to make for his future coaching. He's a system-based coach where he says, I don't want to throw out my midfield matchups by tagging someone. Yet I see a player like Dylan Clark who's playing, who's never going to hurt you by foot.
Yep.
Never going to, he had 13 possessions. So if you're going to play him, put him on Martin.
Give him a role.
Give him a role. Shut down Martin's effectiveness, because Martin rolls on and says, geez, I love playing Essendon every time because I can do what I please, and that hurts the Bombers time and time again.
Yep. The Bulldogs got their season back on track with a really impressive win against Melbourne. They did it on the back of a stunning third quarter, Lordo, didn't they, when they came out and kicked 6 goals to none in that particular term. And you can see when they click that their best is going to challenge the very best. Yeah,
I hope they make the finals because of it. I think their best can compete with anyone. On any given day, they can beat any side in the competition. And this was their best win probably in a long, long time. And I just love this bit of vision where Melbourne went to sleep. They didn't do a lot wrong for 3 quarters, but they're sagging off. Petrarca couldn't go there. Then the next player follows up. Salem doesn't go hard.
I love this kid, Lordo.
Yeah,
I just love him, Bailey Smith.
Going against the grain in terms of he's running in the opposite direction. He finishes that goal, but they go so deep in their midfield. So they're a very good side, the Dogs.
And also love Mitch Wallace's reinvention of himself as a full forward, in inverted commas. Port Adelaide, a bit like Geelong, got the job done against Hawthorn, but they've got a problem up forward. The man who I think has got as much presence as anyone on an AFL venue hasn't had too much in recent times in Charlie Dixon.
No, I think since he monstered Liam Jones and they beat Carlton, he maybe kicked 3 goals 5 or 3 goals 6 or something like that. Teams have worked him out, and they're wrapping their arms around Charlie Dixon, and he's getting really angry and frustrated. But the position he's in now is the position I've seen him in for 4 and 5 weeks in a row. So I'm saying, Charlie, I'm challenging Charlie. What are you doing differently? Port needs you to win a premiership. And what are you trying to change up in your game?
So what's he need to do, Lotto?
He needs to have more tricks to his game. He needs to do more work off the ball to get separation from his opponents. This is what I think he should go and watch videos of Tom Hawkins, another man his size, and this is how Tom Hawkins plays. So this one probably doesn't show it as good as the second one, but you watch him on Hardigan. It's the lateral movement. He's a straight line player, Charlie Dixon, whereas just leading on an angle gives you separation. This one I love even more so. He's on Hardigan. He holds the space, pushes off, and they lower their eyes to him. So we watch it one more time.
So angles here is key.
Angles here,
and the nuances of the foot.
And pushes hard. Charlie's just getting run under the ball, thinks his size will do it for him. That's not going to happen.
Yep. He's flying Hawkins in comparison with Dixon. Lotto, there's a 35-year-old going around who should be allowed to go around again next year, and maybe even for a couple beyond that. David Mundy. I know they talk about Sean Burgoyne as being the silker. This guy's every bit as silky.
Yeah, he's been a wonderful servant for Fremantle. Better than that, he's been a champion, one of the all-time greats of. And if he was playing in Melbourne, we would talk about Mundy even more so. And we both work with Ross Lyon. The way he talks of David Mundy, just his consistency of effort, just one of the great team men of the club. And this pass here, the player didn't even lead. He put it to where the ball should go, and he made that mark for Tabernar. So
I think he's going as well as at any stage of his life, isn't he?
Yeah, and he would be loving what Sarong and Brayshaw and Chera are doing for him, and that can extend his career as well.
The Dockers got the job done, their 5th win of the year, just to give them a sneaky little hope. I don't think it's going to happen, but Lance Franklin of the Swans is now officially ruled out for the year, Lordo, with the ongoing leg had problems. Still got 2 years to run. I will never, ever deviate off my opinion that deal that the Swans have done with Franklin, a 9-year deal for $10 million, has already been paid back. And I go to those 2 grand final appearances. I know they lost those games, but he got them there in 2014 and 16. They started, or in the week of those games, they were favourite on bookmakers' charts. They didn't win them, but I think we're going to be harsh if we're judging him on the lack of a premiership when it comes to overall evaluating his time as a Swan.
I'm with you, Damo. He's been wonderful for the Sydney Swans, but they'd hate for the last 4 years to be a write-off. So they didn't get a lot off last year, nothing this year.
Yep.
So you'd say, OK, we've got nothing from $4 million if he can't do anything in the next 2 years. But I think he's still got his leg speed.
Yep.
So I think we'll see Lance Franklin back in a big way next
So you're
year.
still on the fence with the overall deal?
I think he's been great for Sydney.
Yep.
But, yeah, if they get nothing out of their last 4 years, that's a lot of money that they've wasted.
Yep. Blues got the job done against Gold Coast. It leaves the ladder looking like this, and they're well placed, Lordo, for a shot at the 8.
It's a huge game tonight for the Magpies. So I think Carlton will be sweating on the Magpies losing, and that gives them more of a chance. But I think the Demons are the best side, and here's Carlton's run home. It's pretty much all comes down to they have to beat Collingwood. I think they can beat the Swans and the Crows, but they have to beat Collingwood, the Giants, or the Brisbane Lions at least to make it. So, they have to win at least 3 to 4 of those last 5. And, next week against Collingwood's going to be huge.
Now, you like reminding us you kicked 926 goals, a lot of them with a beautiful routine, Lordo, with the way you went back and took your mark. And it's not something that Rory Lobb knows too much about, though, does he?
I don't know how it's got to this point and how they're not trying to help him change it, but even had his captain just laughing away there, that's getting worse and worse by the week, Damo, that is. He slotted that one, but I've seen him kick a few on the floor. But it is
funny, but it's a serious problem.
As I said, you can laugh when you're 33 points up and smashing the Swans, but it won't be if he costs them one before the end of the year.
Lotto, thanks as always, and thanks for watching Access All Areas. We'll be back next Monday.